Well, good evening, members of council. As he gets this set up, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Amanda McGee. I work for the Roanoke Valley-Alleghany Regional Commission. I'm the Director of Community Development. We also have in the audience Brian Hill, who's worked on your comprehensive plan before, and Shira Goldman, who is a new employee of the commission and is really just here to get to know y'all tonight. So I think that we're having some technical.
Oh, you got the presentation with you?
I have a printout and I can read about it.
Okay.
So that might work fine.
I didn't receive
That's
it.
okay. I had.
Don't turn it off then.
That's fine. We can do it that way. All right. So the Regional Commission, for those of you who, I think most folks are familiar, but we are the Planning District Commission, so we do technical assistance across the region, including Allegheny Highlands. So Allegheny, Clifton Forge, and Covington are of course member governments of ours. And when we were working on your comp plan prior, this project was identified as kind of a next step to build off of your comp plan process. And so this is the Community and Economic Development Strategic Plan. You should have in your packet kind of some analysis of the public input and responses we've received so far. If you can't hear me, go ahead and tell me.
I just want to make sure the journal gets you. If you're,
Okay.
No, they got their microphone there.
yeah,
Their
you
microphone.
want me to, can you come up to the podium?
Yeah, certainly.
So they can get it. I
Certainly.
don't get a phone call tonight.
You're going to anyway.
Thank you.
All right. So would you like for me to reintroduce myself for the camera?
Please.
Okay. My name is Amanda McGee. I'm the Director of Community Development for the Roanoke Valley-Alleghany Regional Commission, and I am here to present on your Community Development and Economic Development Strategic Plan. So, as I mentioned, the Regional Commission is your Regional Planning District Commission, and we do a lot of different kinds of projects for y'all. Specifically, most recently, we worked on your comprehensive plan, and out of that process, this project was identified. So just to start establishing what the goal of the strategic planning process is, so we're looking for is a short-term planning window, identifying specific implementation projects, so actionable items that can be put on the ground or see significant progress in the next 1 to 5 years. So that's the goal of this process. We've already worked with your staff to kind of develop the initial scope of work. We've done some initial stakeholder engagement, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I had some fun slides, but we'll work through it. And also some public outreach. We're moving into our data collection process. And then next month, which I'll talk a little bit more at the end of my presentation, we will have a joint work session proposed between you and the Planning Commission to really kind of flesh out some of the recommendations from this process. Then we'll work on drafting, and then you will get a chance to see the draft again into adoption. So that's the process that we're working towards here. So some outcomes from the initial stakeholder engagement at the high level. Some strengths that were identified for the town include your historic character, small town charm, the fact that you're an arts community, you have outdoor recreation assets, and then generally the sense of community, that there was a strong sense of community in the town. Weaknesses that were identified from the stakeholder engagement. Probably not a surprise that housing affordability is really high across everything that we've heard as an issue. Underutilized properties, limited amenities, and then challenges for establishing new businesses. So those were some of the things identified in the stakeholder engagement process. So that stakeholder meeting was held in September, and then from that we moved directly into the public survey. There were 122 responses that were received in the survey that was open through the month of October. 40% of those folks had lived in Clifton Forge for more than 10 years, so a lot of folks who are very invested in the community responded to the survey. 36% of the responses were from folks who are 65 and over. We did not receive any responses from folks who were 24 and under. I just want to note that because that's something that is worth noting if there's a desire for input from that group. Most of those folks are employed full-time or retired, and there's a wide distribution of household income. So we didn't hear from only one income bracket, so that's good. In terms of some outcomes from the survey, I will note that this is where I will probably have to abbreviate a little bit from what I had planned to talk to y'all about because it's not going to make as much sense without graphics. But generally, one of the things we polled folks about was kind of the 4 elements of Clifton Forge and how folks felt about them. So one of them was downtown character. Of course, we had heard about that in the stakeholder survey. And generally that had very positive response. Folks feel like they have a really good bones to work with in the downtown area. Community amenities came in a little bit less favorable. That's not a surprise based off of what we've heard from the stakeholders to kind of set up some of these responses. Housing was where people were not happy. And then health and happiness, folks were generally more happy than housing or community amenities, so generally ranked a little bit better. Responses from the survey, people characterized the town as struggling but hopeful, with historic charm, facing economic challenges and some identity conflict. So those were some key themes that we heard from the open responses to the survey. I think, to me, the 2 things that really pop out that parallel what we heard in the stakeholder group are that historic charm and economic challenges. Those very much parallel what we heard from the stakeholder group. Generally, concerns raised from your public included blighted or underutilized properties, so paralleling again from the stakeholder group, lack of businesses and jobs, housing affordability, infrastructure maintenance, youth engagement, and leadership and vision. And then some folks quoted double taxation as a burden. I think that's a hard one to address. Your town, and you're going to want to levy taxes probably. So what would encourage people to spend more time in Clifton Forge was another key question we wanted to highlight for here. Look, here's my presentation. Hooray, thank you.
And Amanda, that was completely my fault. Thank you, David.
And we could keep going, actually. I'm like pretty far in. So, yeah, one more slide there. There we are. That one's where we are. So what would encourage you to spend more time in downtown? We got a variety of responses. More dining and shopping options. I don't think that's a surprise for folks, but then also later business hours, coming back to that maintenance question for cleaner and renovated buildings, and then family-friendly and inclusive spaces, and improved accessibility and parking. So more things to do, and more access, and just a general kind of elevation of facades. I think is probably the key takeaway here. But we have a lot more detail in your survey packet, so if there's anything in here that's really intriguing for you want to dig into more, there's a lot more detail in your packet. And then last slide of outcomes. This is kind of an overview of what people's vision for Clifton Forge was, some of the key themes when they were asked, where do you see the town in 10 years, like where do you think it should go? So I think the takeaway from here is that overall people are very passionate about their town. I think the elements in this vision function as a good North Star when we're thinking about this process, so that's why I wanted to end here. So people want to see a thriving arts and tourism town, a clean and vibrant downtown, more businesses and job opportunities, affordable living, senior services, and youth retention and engagement, so balancing both of those needs, and then preservation of history with modern amenities. So that is some food for thought for you. So next steps for this, we will have a joint work session next month that will allow us to really kind of build on some of the things we've heard from the public and from the stakeholder engagement. So this will be your opportunity to really work with us to help identify projects and identify some of these action items and strategies for moving forward. But we wanted to give you a month to kind of digest this information and digest what we have heard from the public before we kind of dove into that. And there are some specific project recommendations that were identified in some of the survey responses, so I encourage you to look at those. And we'll be continuing to work with your staff to further flesh out some of those ideas as well. So, any questions for me at this time?
Question, how many people responded to the survey?
That was 122 responses for the public survey. Yes.
Any more questions? Thank you. We look forward to seeing you on the night.
Thank you.